Hey guys, what's up? It is K-Love here. This is like a how to get kind of better at draft thing, and it's like subverting your opponent's expectations or subverting Amon's expectations. Um, and every mon can do this to an extent, right? Cinderace could be bulky if you so choose, like Alomomola could be choice banded, or like Corviknight could be choice, but like every mon has like a thing that it could do, or like every mon could run like a berry or something, right? But I'm talking about substantial actual sets that like can succeed and do work, like that use the mon's strengths and is not just like I'm gonna elevate its biggest weakness. Like all of these are matchup dependents, but I've used 3 of these. I'm using one of them right now. But pretty much how this is gonna work, I'm just gonna show off the mons, and I'm gonna show off what they're usually done, which I don't have preloaded, but what they usually done, what their roles are usually, and then how you can subvert that and how you can make a change. And I am gonna actually I have 5. We'll begin with the Goldango. So Goldango, oh my god, Goldango. Goldango is kind of a special mon. I don't mean that in a bad way whatsoever. But all of these mons compared to it are very different because sure, some of these are mixed mons that like, oh, you could just run the other set, right? Like that kind of thing. Goldango is versatile in it could play offense, it could play defense. Usually you're gonna see leftover sets, choice spec scarf sets, but I think there's a little bit more you could do with Goldango. There's light clay sets with reflect light screen. It doesn't really have the pivot move, which is a little unfortunate, but it could do that, right? It has trick sets, which are very, very easy. Like you could, like, it's about subverting expectations, right? So you could still run Make It Rain. You could still run Thunderbolt and Shadow Ball. Oh my god, Shadow Ball. But you could put in a trick, right? Or you can just run Make It Rain / Shadow Ball and then recover Reflect Light Screen, right? Like, the goal of this is not to completely change a mon and make it unrecognizable. The point is to use the mon's strengths in another facet. And for Goldango, that's using its bulk to get up screens, right? It's not the most quickest, but it definitely has bulk. And it, in that same notion, to take advantage of those screens and hell, like you could run Reflect, Light Screen, Nasty Plot, Shadow Ball. Like, there are weeks where that set could work if you're not playing a team with a serious Dark type or a team with a serious Normal type. And if your team is centered around getting rid of those mons that Goldango doesn't do great against, right? Like, there are weeks where that set could work. And the point of the sets are taking advantage of Goldango's bulk and other facets, right? It's not just Scarf Specs, item, or berry, right? It's changing it. So that's my first example that I wasn't planning on bringing up this mon, but I figured it's a good way to kind of introduce you to it. The first real mon I was going to talk about is Enamorus, because Enamorus really only has one set, and it can, I think Contrary is fair, like Contrary superpower sets are fair, but really this is like amazing spec Scarf mon, like it's just gonna do that. But I think if you really want to take advantage of it, Sub is so good for this mon. You can run Moonblast, Earth Power, it gets Focus Blast, but I fucking hate Focus Blast, so we're not running that. And then like Sludge Bomb, like to hit other fairies. Like this mon is so good at just punishing that, hey, let's just, or you don't want to run Sludge Bomb, run Calm Mind. Like this mon can take advantage of a really good matchup, and this would be Q-Charm, but like you could do that. You could do Contrary, Sub, Superpower, Play Rough, and then like I don't like Outrage personally, but I forgot about Springtide Storm. Where is like Facade, Ironhead? Ironhead is great for, again, fairies. So yeah, like I said, the goal, and I will repeat this a ton of times so that it gets in your head, the goal is not to make the mon weak and a niche set that like works once. The goal of this is to take advantage of the mon's biggest strengths and distort them in a way that preserves that mon's capabilities. So that's why we're doing that. And I know Sub is very common, but like that's just you're gonna have to do shit like that. Like Iron Defense, you would never run Iron Defense. It doesn't, right? It doesn't get body press. Like, there's no reason for you to run Iron Defense unless, like, I don't know, you're playing Urshifu, but even then, like, whatever. Like, um, you want to make these set actually work. And like, if you're on a weather team, like Weather Ball is a really good option. Like Tailwind, like Taunt. Like, there are other ways you can take advantage of this mod. But like, if you really want to get that step up, that's really what you're gonna do, right? Because they're gonna expect you to click a move, whether it's super effective or predict. Like, they are expecting you to click a move. If you can subvert that in a way and make and punish the switch in a really substantial way, so that you get 2 hits instead of 1 on something like, I don't know, if a steel type switches in, you get an earth power, and if it puts it in range, or a superpower, and if it puts it in range of the next, then you get to click that button again. And I know you could just run specs, you can just run whatever, but instead of that steel type, let's say they go into a flying type. They go into a flying type, and you click superpower or you click earth power, and you're locked into it. Well, that sucks. Now you can't do anything. If you click sub, you get a free turn, right? That, I feel like that's a really simple way of looking at it. And the next mon also can kind of do this, and that's Gren. Gren can easily run sub as well, but I really think choice specs and scarf and band are really and life orb are its best options. So it kind of makes it difficult to kind of subvert with this mon, right? It already kind of does it with like having a good attack and special attacks that are like quote unquote good. It can, you know, protein, battle bond. So how do you subvert with a mon like Greninja, where you're expecting, okay, this is gonna be a banded specs, this is gonna hit me, it's gonna hit hard, and it's gonna do damage. Well, how you subvert it is you don't do that, and you take advantage of something else Greninja has, right? And we're taking advantage of Enamorus's strong capabilities, right? Even if that's already its greatest strength. Goldango, like, again, you can subvert because it has decent defenses, but it's really good at special attack, and like, you could scarf it, you can do whatever to fix the speed, like. But with Gren, you don't really have that option. These mons, their greatest strengths are attacking. Greninja's a speed. Greninja's a speed. That gets under the radar a ton. So you can run lead sets. You can run T-spikes, right? They expect you to click a move, or like a damaging move, right? If you throw spikes in there at all, that's a subversion, and you're gonna get it off 10 times out of 10. Even if you don't get the switch right, it's still gonna put progress into the game, and that's important. U-turn is another very obvious one, right, for speed control. And if you don't want to do sash, there's boots. I said before sub, like, there are ways to subvert with this mon in a substantial way without, you know, and there's SD is right there, doesn't get nasty, doesn't get calm mind. If you really want to subvert and take advantage of this mon's speed and its attack stat setup. If you think they're gonna switch, bring Swords Dance. Like, if you think your opponent switches a ton, like, that's something I always look for, is I will watch my opponent's replays to see, like, okay, what are their tendencies? What do they do often? And if switching is one of them, setup is usually a good option, or specs, banded, those are usually good options, because you're putting an insane amount of damage in one turn, and you can get momentum if they, you know, wish, heal, you can bring in something that spikes up, right? Like, there are ways you could deal with it. So that's kind of the next thing, is okay, what is another thing this mon is really good at? That's what we're looking for. Because yeah, I don't need to repeat myself a ton of times, so, well, I am, but whatever. Next mon, Garganacl. It is one of my favorite Pokemon, because it's so insanely versatile. Because when you look at it, okay, what does this mon do? It has Salt Cure. Okay, what else besides that? It can get up rocks. It has Recover. Oh my god, it can get up rocks. And then it gets Body Press, right? That's pretty much, you know, this is the Garg set, right? And your opponent will bring Covert, and then they'll have something for Knackle. Whether it is usually a water type, right? Usually it's a water type. And the fun thing with Knackle is if you're in a league where it's Terra, which in the beginning I didn't really see a ton of leagues allowing Terra Knackle, and then I used it really early in the generation, and I had a ton of success with it, because early on I was really, this was the set I was running most weeks. But what I figured out, and what a lot of people will figure out when they play with Garganackle, is this is the worst set. This is a horrible set because a lot of opponents are gonna bring Covert Cloak, right? The best thing you can do with Garganackle is either not bring it or not bring Sulkier, because that's what the expectation is. So how do you subvert that? Well, it has really good offensive capabilities. You can put it under Trick Room, but that's not usually done. What you do is you just run a curse set with Body Press. You could throw that in there. If you really want Sulkier, you could throw it in here. But Earthquake is fine. Terra Blast if you have Terra. If not, like Edge instead of Earthquake. It's like it has pretty good coverage, so like you can do a ton with Garganackle. And that kind of leads into my next mon, which is again, I'm not really gonna spend a time on Garg because Garg is like pretty easy to understand. Ting-Lu, everyone knows the Ting-Lu set. Stealth Rock Spikes, Whirlwind, and Ruination. You can throw in Earthquake instead. You can throw in Throat Chop. You could throw in, you know, whatever move you want. This is what you're gonna get. Maybe Body Press is thrown in there. Maybe a Taunt is thrown in there. But this is the Ting-Lu set. So how do you subvert? Well, what is Ting-Lu also good at? It has a 110 base attack stat. That isn't anything to scoff at. That's really, really good. Let's look at mons with similar stats of like 110, right? Let's see. Meowscarada is in this category. Komao is in this category, right? I'm gonna skip Mewtwo Invoke. Samurai Hisui is in this range. Necrozma is in this range. Well, you don't really see that with Archaludon. I've seen D-Dance Hydreigon. Like, Zoroark is in this category. Alola Muck, one of my favorite wall breakers, is in this category. Like, there are a ton of mons. Infernape is near this category. Like, we're now under 100. Like, who is also in this category? Rachi is in this category. Dozo is in this category. You know, Regidrago. Like, what do these mons have in common? They're setup sweepers, or they have something that boosts the attack stat, and that's how they're able to get a ton of damage, and that's why they're viable, and also the metagame, and you know, etc. But like specifically in Draft League, why are they viable? Because of setup, they can take advantage of like abilities and whatnot. Ting-Lu has an ability; it can take advantage of it. It's bulky and it can take hits and it can deal a ton of damage. So I feel like you can see where this is going because it doesn't have an attack raising ability. I don't think it gets like work up or like any way to raise its attack stat, which honestly I think is kind of stupid, but that's besides the point. Let's run Choice Band. I have ran Choice Band Ting-Lu. Like, this is a mon that has a ton of kills for me because I've had games where it will get 3 or 4 kills because Earthquake just does a ton of damage. Throat Chop just does a ton of damage. Like, Brown Dark is really good offensive types. Like, this is Crocodile's type, and Crocodile, RU right now, it used to be a UU Demon. Like, this mon is like 13, 14 points in draft because it's good offensively, you know, can be good defensively. You're 7 points off from Crook. Like, Ting-Lu is going to be hitting just as hard. It's going to be able to take more hits. It doesn't have that same, like, CC. It doesn't have, you know, like, the coverage of it, but it's doing, because what switches into Ting-Lu, right? Another defensive mon, maybe you set up with it. Ting-Lu punishes that, you know, you throw in a Rock Slide there, you throw in some Headbutt if you need the coverage, like this mon, Body Press too, like, and Heavy Slam. Like, this mon has literally it all. You want to switch in a Fairy type? Let's just Heavy Slam, because Ting-Lu is heavy as fuck, and it will do a ton of damage. Like, this mon's just good. This is just a good mon. And especially if you're running Ban, and it's one of my favorite sets. So, with that being said, that is pretty much the video. So, that is kind of the goal of Draft League. It's to win games, right? And to win games, you're going to have to experiment, you're going to have to play well, you're going to have to do all these other things. But the most important thing is subverting expectations, right? Finding the mid-ground plays. Not necessarily predictions, but finding the middle ground. So I hope this is helpful. I hope I've made a point. You know, you could always look through catalogs of mons and kind of find these sets. Like something I've ran a ton is like EV Rillaboom is a really good option because you're using its defenses, or even like just Leech Seed Rillaboom is really good as well. Like the goal is finding your advantages and utilizing the mons to its best ability while still making sure that mon has value. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope you check out my channel, Kayla Love. I try to post as often as I can. I love Draft League, like that's literally the only thing I will do for now. So I hope this content's helpful, and I hope you have a great day, and peace.